Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Leadership Void podcast. I'm Enrique, my co-host Vince, and today we're back in the West Coast. We love traveling, but more importantly, we love bringing you great entrepreneurs, great people doing great things for the veteran community, and we're so happy to have with us. And I'm going to let Vince introduce.
Yeah, not only the veteran community, the military community. Here we are talking about our beautiful and wonderful spouses. But today, talking about beautiful, we have Stephanie Brown, the CEO and founder of the Rosie Network, all the way from San Diego, California. Welcome, Stephanie. Please tell us a little bit about you.
Well, thank you for having me. As I mentioned, entrepreneurship for the military community is my absolute favorite topic to talk about. So a little bit about me. I grew up in the military. My father served over 20 years in the Air Force. I'm an Air Force brat. And also 2 tours in Vietnam. When he retired, he opened up a little music store in California because he was a phenomenal musician and taught me pretty much everything. Well, the most important things I've learned over my life around leadership and entrepreneurship. I didn't know it at the time. He's not with us anymore, but looking back on it, those were some pretty important lessons. I married into the military. I've been an entrepreneur for over 3 decades now. So having made every mistake under the sun you can possibly imagine, and some you've probably never even thought of. I married into the military. My husband served over 30 years in the SEAL teams. Sadly passed away earlier this year, but he actually helped me launch the Rosie Network. I mean, he was the perfect sounding board. He was, no BS, no, hey, this is my wife, I got to tell her what she, wants to hear. Oh no, he was brutally honest, which is exactly the kind of, sounding boards and mentors you need to have if you're going to enter into this journey. And really, we're pushing forward because, he knew, and I believe this is important, right? Empowering the next generation of military business owners. And I've raised kids in the military. So I don't know how many times I've moved over the course of Tom's career, but, serving this community is really the gift. An opportunity to do it in a meaningful way is really a gift. It was given to me from God above, and I am following his orders. But it's really been an honor. Entrepreneurship is in my blood. It's in my DNA. I think it, I sleep it, I scream it, I preach it. I don't think I could ever work in any other way, and really surrounding myself with other entrepreneurs how many of us can say that, right? That we're helping other entrepreneurs succeed. It's really a blessing.
And that's amazing. And our hearts to your family and your friends and all those that have suffered that loss. I suffered similar here in April, but I know how you feeling. But you have done such a wonderful job, because I have seen the Rosie Network. I remember following you back when everything was starting, and there's some other things that I know you're going to talk about here, but that are in the works. But your entrepreneurship journey has been so stellar so far, so I congratulate you on that. The Rosie Network has done so much, and it's continuing to do. So tell us a little bit more about the Rosie Network.
Well, a lot of people have heard the story about how it all kind of started, right? Tom was deployed. I needed to find a plumber. I didn't want to go. Well, I did spend hours on Angie's List and Craigslist, and and of course, being, if you have entrepreneurship in your DNA, which there is not a treatment for yet, I'm still searching. You constantly come up with these solutions to problems, and of course, you have to do your research, which is one of the things that we talk about in our program. But, I realized that, I didn't want to spend my money on people that I didn't know, and that I wanted to support, a veteran plumber out there or military spouse plumber out there. So that really started the journey, and Rosie's List was launched, which is, the largest searchable database of verified veteran and military spouse-owned businesses today. It's all free. But, I realized there was a gap. There was a gap between, providing this search tool, like and training and mentorship and resources and funding and all that kind of stuff. And really the Rosie network was sort of born out of, how can we bridge that gap? I mean, how can we help entrepreneurs coming up behind us, but not make some of the same mistakes, that I did. I wish there had been resources like our program, Service to CEO, when I first started my first business. And the other thing is really the need for it. I watched when Tom was in command and moving all over the country and dealing directly with military families. I watched this struggle take place, especially with spouses. Educated or smart, driven, capable, and suddenly finding themselves, like I did, being unemployed or underemployed, and watching how that affected the family unit. And I thought, there's got to be a better way. The DoD puts a lot of money and resources, and rightfully so, toward employment for spouses, but nobody's talking about self-employment and entrepreneurship and a portable career. And 10 years ago, when I started this, people looked at me like I had a third eye in the middle of my head. What do you mean spouses need jobs? Yeah, but, not spouses, it's not one size fits all for spouses. We live very unique, very challenging, and also very rewarding lives. So, it's all about helping entrepreneurs, launch and grow a business with confidence and clarity.
We're glad that plumber came into your life and the
Yeah.
DNA of entrepreneurship.
He's still my plumber today too.
Good news. I love
Yeah.
it. I love it. But 10 years in the making, and not only you impacting the family, which is the spouses, you're also impacting the children. So we love what you're doing. And so folks that do not know much about the Rosie Network, what are you currently doing, and how are you holding up with the pandemic and everything that had occurred last year?
Yeah, great question. The first thing, let me just say, when you talk about children, so my team came up with this idea to because we got a lot of requests to launch a summer camp for military kids, an entrepreneur summer camp. So that starts next week. So next month. So yeah, we did it. We published a magazine called MilitaryEntrepreneur Magazine, MEMAG for short, and we did an article about military kid entrepreneurs, and that just sort of sparked this conversation. And lo and behold, hopefully we'll be training and empowering the next generation of kid entrepreneurs, military kid, which I love. The pandemic affected affected so many of us. One of the first things we did was go virtual. So typically all of our program is called Service to CEO. It's absolutely free. 16 weeks, 8 modules, mentoring, and at the end you present your pitch deck. And we used to do it in person on stage. We'd have business leaders, media there, and then COVID hit, and suddenly we had to pivot, like so many other businesses, and take everything virtual, which was both, in a lot of ways it was a blessing, because suddenly we found that we were having folks enroll in the program as far as ways as Japan and Hawaii and Alaska. And I think we now have folks from over 32, might be higher now, 32 states and overseas going through. So, it's all about being agile, and knowing, identifying your challenge and then figuring out ways to go around it or just plain push through it. And that's what we did. I look forward to us coming back in person. That'll be a great day, because nothing will ever replace that in-person, face-to-face, as far as I'm concerned. Maybe I'm old school. I know I'm old, but maybe I'm old school. But certainly being able to offer it virtually has expanded the program, and I think in ways that we just didn't anticipate. We just graduated 2 cohorts for the Wounded Warrior Project, and one, and working on the next one with the Elizabeth Dole Foundation alumni of caregivers. And that probably wouldn't have happened if we hadn't expanded into, virtual network. But it did impact us. I mean, a lot of nonprofits rely on events like a big annual fundraising event, and we didn't have that. So, and I've never been a gala girl, so if you've ever been to a nonprofit fundraising event, a lot of them are, galas. And I thought, if we're going to do things like that, it's got to have meaning. And so instead of doing a gala, we host our big annual fundraising event is our National Veteran and Military Spouse Entrepreneur Awards. And this is our 5th year. So we get to, and we've gone national. So, last year we awarded, to categories like, startup, veteran owned, active duty owned, military spouse owned, business leader. And though the nominations go live next month. So we look forward to that just growing bigger and bigger.
That is outstanding. I love how you've taken a thought of a need for service and have turned it into service. It's just great to hear how that has all evolved. And so, taking that train of thought, what's on the horizon for the Rosie Network and things that are coming up?
Well, one thing I have learned about myself as a leader is, and this is the leadership void. So, is I'm never short of ideas. They're not all good. But we are definitely not short of great ideas and things that we are pursuing. So, like I said, the Kidpreneur, Kidpreneur program over the summer, and we're working with AAFES. We've expanded into supplier diversity, helping our veterans and military spouses become procurement ready to do business not only with the government, but also with corporations, what that looks like, how to prepare for it, bringing companies on board that want to do business with vets and spouses for the first time ever. So, go to our website, and take a look at what we're doing. In fact, tomorrow we're hosting a veteran and military spouse business expo at Fort Bragg. I think this is now our 4th one. So we're doing that with Veterans Grow America, another amazing organization. So when, we began this conversation with AAFES, and one of the ways that we started working with them was, how can we introduce and provide opportunities for local veteran and spouse-owned businesses all around the country? Why not host showcase events, right, at AAFES locations? And they were like, hey, let's do it. And the next thing we know, those are growing across the country. So, and then supplier diversity, getting veteran and military spouse-owned products into AAFES supplier diversity. That's already done. It's live. I'm super proud and excited of that, which also translates into helping them get their products in the shelves or lease retail space. That's, to me, is amazing. I'm a Navy spouse, so I'm working on the NEX to step up next, but AAFES is committed, and I'm excited about seeing that just continue to grow. And a lot of other things. As I said, we publish a magazine. We're launching a podcast, not podcast, but Rosie Talks. I think TED Talks, but better. So I'm looking forward to doing that, monthly with Rosie, and just a lot of great, amazing things. I mean, there's no shortage of ideas. So, and a lot of them come from our members.
No, absolutely. That is in the secret sauce of an entrepreneur, idea, driven. It's the diversity of thought. So we appreciate everything you're doing, and it's a need. So you're filling out a lot of voids. And speaking of voids, let's talk about leadership, man,
Yeah.
as a leader. So for yourself, Stephanie, what professional development areas do you work on to improve your capabilities as a leader?
I mean, it's incredibly important. When you become an entrepreneur, business owner, it can be a really lonely journey and a tough journey. So, you got to build a team, right? And when you build a team, then you realize that you are suddenly in a position of driving something forward that's bigger than yourself, and you are accountable to your team, right? So you need to know, one of the first things, in fact, we do it in our program, is take a leadership assessment, find out what kind of leader you are. And that was something I did. I think we were about 3-4 years in, and I think we had 6 or 7 team members. And when we all did a leadership and organization assessment, we had a veteran come in and do this whole organizational assessment. And that was a lot of laughing, some crying, but you have to do that. You have to evaluate yourself as a leader, listen to your team, and then, find out what kind of leader you are. How do you communicate with your team? How do they communicate with you? I won't get too deep into it because we could spend, an hour or more talking about it. But, there are some, and you can Google it, there are some clearly identified different leadership styles. All of them have something good and something bad. So I discovered that I was a wee bit of a lone wolf, like my team, because I'm used to doing things by myself. I'm a go-getter, doer. And I hate to ask for help, right? How does that, I mean, I'm sure that resonates with a lot of people on your podcast. So but you have to be able to ask for help. And it was really doing that self-assessment, learning about how I communicate with my team. What do I share with my team? Bringing my team into everything that we're doing, right? You have to get their buy-in. Nobody is going to love and be as passionate about your business as you are. Some people will say differently, but I believe that it's your baby. It's like raising a kid, and then you have to bring in others to help educate that kid and help raise that kid. And you have to make sure they're people that you can trust and that they can trust you. So, and being vulnerable, it's okay to not be perfect and know everything. Again, this is a conversation we could have for a long time, but it's really, be honest with yourself, be honest with your team. Surround yourself with folks that that are smarter than you, or bring a talent or skill set that you don't have. Don't get a bunch of mini-me's, because that's not going to work out, right? So yeah, it's really about constantly self-assessing. Is really that's what I try to. I know what I'm good at, and I know what I suck at. So it is really, being honest and communicating with your teams, and that's something that I constantly work at.
Now, those are some great, great advice points for anyone. And yes, you bring up to a lot of things that a lot of leaders have undoubtedly faced in one way or
Mhm.
another, or are about to face. So hopefully they're listening. Now, in the 10 years with Rosie, I know, and from that time of that initial assessment, right, where you're
Yeah.
trying to find out what type of leader you are, you've developed a lot of skills between then and now. What sort of advice can you give a new and emerging leader that is just coming around the bend to, to try to get that entrepreneurial spirit on the tracks and go somewhere?
Yeah. Well, and we deal with those every day. In fact, I was just on first class for a brand new cohort yesterday, and got to listen to them. A lot of them are still in concept phase, but listen to their early pitch. And it's one of the things that we talk about is, again, this can be a very lonely, very frustrating. A lot of entrepreneurs quit within the first year or 3 years. Build a team, don't do it alone. So that's my first piece of advice. Define what success means to you, not what success means to Vince, right? Or somebody else. What, for your business, what does success mean to you? Does it mean that, it's a small gig, a side gig, and you're going to make just enough money that you can, make the car payment or house payment, or take, put your kids to summer camp, whatever that is? If that's what success means to you, don't let anybody else convince you otherwise. Or you want to own the world, or rule, be the next Qualcomm or Apple, then that's what you should push for. But you really got to start with that. What does success mean to you? Not your peers, not what they say on social media or anywhere else, because you're the one you wake up with, you're the one you go to bed with. And then build a team of, like I said, people who have a skill set and who are going to be honest with you. Don't, it's okay to, work, share your idea, your business with your friends and family. That's okay. But remember, what we often need as entrepreneurs is the, feedback and the honest truth. So sometimes our friends and family are a little reluctant to tell us that, so building a team, and a team doesn't have to be employees. I hear this all the time. Well, I'm a solopreneur. I can't afford to bring in employees. A team is not limited to employees. It can be mentors. It can be advisors. It can, the great thing about, our cohorts is every single one of the folks within that cohort inevitably look to each other and oftentimes collaborate with each other, but they look to each other for that, that they become mentors and advisors, within the cohort. So don't do it alone. Find people that you trust and, lean on them, and then be there for others.
Definitely. You heard from Stephanie, the lone wolf, the valley of the wolf pack. So there we go.
That's it. Exactly. That's it. Don't be the lone wolf. We're stronger. There's an old African proverb that one of my mentors said to me a long time ago: if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Amen. And speaking about going together, doing that journey, there are challenges we face. How do you handle challenges that you're currently facing or have faced in the past?
Yeah, well, for me personally, I like it when everybody gets along, and that's not always the case, right? So you have to, hard lesson is you have to be comfortable having uncomfortable conversations. And you're going to have uncomfortable conversations, right? So regardless of what your challenges are, if your challenges are, you can't bring in money, you need funding, you need, you need marketing, or whatever your challenge is, truly, I always say your greatest asset is your team, and your greatest liability is your team. So when you have problems in your team, that becomes a big problem, right? I love the book, 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. So listeners, look that up. 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. It's super easy read. It's phenomenal. You'll probably identify yourself in one of the characters in the book. But it's, having, like I said, having trusted mentors and advisors that you can turn to that aren't emotionally engaged in something as you are, that are looking from it at a problem or challenge from an outside perspective and can give you good, solid advice is invaluable. One of the hardest challenges for me was, when we faced issues within the team, and I had to let somebody go. It is absolutely the worst feeling in the world, but I knew that if I didn't do it, that the entire team would fall apart. And, you try as a leader to build a team that is based on a simple foundation, the most important foundation, and that's trust. Trust, right? If you don't have trust in your team, you've got nothing. So, it's find somebody that you trust outside of your organization that can help give you advice if you're dealing with an internal issue. And then any other challenges, business challenges that you face, again, your team is your most valuable asset. Turn to them. Hey guys, look, we have this challenge like we did when COVID hit. What do we do? What can we do? I'm looking, let's get some ideas going. Doesn't matter how crazy you think that idea is, let's put it out there. And that was really, the idea, the go virtual and expand the way we did and build a workbook and all that didn't come from Stephanie. That came from my team, so, don't try to figure it out yourself all the time.
Yeah, and undoubtedly, the challenges bring us to many moments of change, and it seems like, those are things we have to build strategies around, because things can truly fall apart if we don't. So, what sort of strategies do you build around moments of change where and that it's inevitable, we're going to
Yeah.
have to do something?
Yeah. Well, many entrepreneurs are innovators and visionaries, right? Most of us live in this constant state of not anxiety, but anxiousness, right? We have an idea, we've developed this widget, we have this business concept, we know it's going to be successful and we want it to happen yesterday. And that's just, it's unrealistic. So, when I learned, hey, that I tend to be kind of a lone wolf leader, right? That I'm out there, doing all this stuff by myself, and not necessarily engaging my team, because I looked at it originally as, well, I don't want to burden them. If I have this idea, I'm going to go out and do it because I don't want to burden them with more stuff. I'll tell you one strategy that helped address that and worked for us was, as an innovator, as a visionary, and you have those within your team too. You as the CEO are not the only exclusive to those skills, or if somebody comes up with an idea, and this, again, I mentioned this because it was an issue for our organization. I had my team going, what are you doing, Stephanie? We just developed this program and you've got 5 other things you want to do within the next 6 months. We're 5 people. We can't do it, And I'm like, what do you? So we take an idea and we have a pro-con sheet form that everybody that you fill out. And then you present it to the team. There's roundtable discussion. We go through it and we determine, okay, is this something we can implement immediately? Is it something that's short-term, or is it something that's long-term? That, again, because it was an issue that we were dealing with basically because of me. I was the one going, hey, let's do a magazine. Hey, let's do this. Hey, let's do that. And they're like, what? So again, that's a struggle and a challenge that we dealt with, and that's how we came up with a solution. There's no, we, again, based on that foundation of trust, we can, as a team, be honest with each other. And we know that criticism comes from a place of, we all love this mission. We all love the people that we serve, want to see them succeed. And when criticism comes from that place, you take it differently, right? It's constructive. You've all heard constructive criticism. So that's one strategy. And I think it works for just about any team, and even a solopreneur. Sit down and go, what are the pros? What are the cons? What's it going to cost? Not just money wise, but your team. And is it something you do immediately? Is it something midterm or long term?
Well, I can really feel your passion through this whole journey that you are doing and consistently evolving. And what I hear you did was empower. You have empowered your team for the military community. So, and your sight to the North Star, that mission is constantly evolving and going forward. So thank you for all that. And for folks listening in, how do they contact you or the Rosie Network?
Yeah. So the Rosie Network, it's super simple. www.the Rosie Network. And Rosie is, for those of you listening, is ROSIE, after Rosie the Riveter, that we can do it. And I would say we can do it together mindset. So the rosienetwork.org. You can also find us, on Facebook, social media. If you want to participate or learn more about our program, Service to CEO, how to join a cohort, you don't have to have a business. You can be in that concept phase. In fact, about a third of yesterday's kickoff cohort, and we have cohorts around the country going all throughout the year. We're in the ideation phase. And I love those guys because they're, I don't want to say moldable, but a lot of times they'll come to us with an idea, and 16 weeks later, the business that they're launching is very different because we've put them through things like, customer discovery, right? Exercises like that. And so if you want to learn more about how to join or be a part of Service to CEO, you can go to our website, just click on program. Service to CEO is right there on the homepage. If you're interested in doing business with AAFES or want to be part of a showcase, again, you can email us, contact at the Rosie Network, or you can email me, sbrown at therosienetwork.org. You can read our magazine there. If you want to be a subject matter expert or a mentor, give of your, as I always say, time, treasure, or talent to our mission, email me, reach out, and I'll make sure you get connected with the right person. So I tell you, we have built not just an amazing program, a national award-winning program that is free, but an incredible team. Some of our chapter leads actually graduated from our program. So I'm incredibly proud of each and every one of our folks that go through the program, that stick to it, because there's homework, folks. You got to do the work. We become your accountability partner, but you get mentorship. Right? 90% of businesses within the first year or first 3 years, I can't recall, fail that don't have mentors. So absolutely critical, that piece and that component of it. So, yeah.
Absolutely true in that aspect. That without mentors, it is tough to go down the long haul of a journey in entrepreneurship. Stephanie, it's been such a pleasure to have you and share your thoughts with us and all that you're doing. And folks, if I will have some of that information as part of the video and notes for the show, so that you can reach out to Stephanie and her crew out there with the Rosie Network, and they're gonna take care of you, right?
Yeah.
They're ready to roll their sleeves up and get down there with you. If you want to contact us, the Leadership Void podcast is our email. The leadership void at gmail.com is where you will send that. And we will curate any questions you have, any topics you want to see us cover. But it's been such a pleasure to have you with us, Stephanie. We continue to wish you just continued success and all the things that you guys plan, and all the great
Thank you.
ideas that you guys are brewing up.
Thank you. If I may, gentlemen, first I want to say thank you for having me. What an incredible service you're providing. And I would leave your listeners with one thing: build something of meaning. Build something that gives back or impacts, whether it's an individual, a community. I would argue the military community is certainly a good one to give back to. So, that sets you apart. That gives you meaning and purpose. People align with that. So, think of that, not just how great your widget is, how amazing your service is, but think about how can you support something that matters to you and to your team. So build something that, gives back in some way, shape, or form.
Absolutely. And for those who understand what you're saying, build from the place of your heart, that you care, from value. If you don't know how to get there, reach out to the Rosie Network. They can make sure you get what you need to make it happen. And as we continue this journey with dynamic guests, just like Stephanie Brown, we're headed to talk to another great another individual who is a veteran, talking about business, small business, and entrepreneurship next week. So we're excited about that as well. Yes.
I'll be tuning in
next week. Yeah. And we do, speaking of tuning in, every 1st and the 15th, we do a buddy check, 1900, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard, just to check in on the military community, see how we're doing. Call it radio check. And lastly, we are trying to reach our 200 subscriber. So enter the drawing by hitting click on our YouTube channel, The Leadership Void, and you're going to win in this drawing, the Standing Your O Salute Edition by Scott McGregor. That book right there that Enrique is displaying. So all that's coming to you. Just help us out. We're helping you out. But today we just honored and have the privilege speaking with Stephanie Brown, the Rosie Network. We can do it together. Thank you for your service. Thank you for what you're doing, young lady, and look forward to seeing you in Orlando soon.
Absolutely. Thank you, gentlemen.